So now let's talk about a subject that may be a subject that a lot of people try to avoid, or have like their wall built up about this specific subject. And it is something that I can truly honestly say that when I tried it, I can definitely see a difference in my situation and in like how I'm feeling on a daily basis. So the subject is our diets, which is something I've kind of come across within the past few years, on Instagram or like social media, and like just these different platforms. So if you're not really aware of what I'm speaking of with autoimmune diseases or other diseases, such as cancer or diabetes, or like your liver or kidney failures, some of the most common and popular diseases, a lot of people are basing that on your diet. And I know from a certain standpoint, of course, your diet plays a big part in, your life or how your body is functioning. And how I like to explain it is when you have a car, you get your license, you own a car, and you have to fuel your car. Whether it be every few days or on a weekly basis or whatever. Well, for those who have luxury cars, what happens when you go to the gas station and you put 87 in your car? You're gonna run into some issues. So it's kind of like the same thing. You're fueling your body. That's what your body, gets up and goes on. And so I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that kind of makes sense when you think about it that way. So what I did was, the first thing I did as far as trying to incorporate a better diet in my life, and it's what I like to call the anti-inflammatory diet. So the first thing I did was I removed certain meats. So probably for about like 2 years now, I've been on a diet where I don't eat any beef and I don't eat any pork. And honestly, that wasn't very, very hard for me. I've never been much of a beef eater, or steak eater or anything like that. The most that I used to eat was ground beef. And that's just like because ground beef is in a lot of different things like spaghetti, lasagna, tacos and stuff like that. But I never preferred like beef. I've never been a steak eater, but I probably had steak less than 10 times in my entire life. And then pork also wasn't very, very hard. I don't even crave pork. The only thing I crave, and this is a fun fact, this is my favorite food in the entire world, but my favorite food ever are Hungry Howard's baked oven subs. And I used to get the deluxe baked oven subs, so that comes with the sausages, the ham, like all of that stuff. And that's the only thing that I crave after not having pork for like 2 years now. So that was pretty easy. So what I do is I stick to chicken and turkey. And another thing is having an autoimmune disease. They do advise that you try to stay away from like yeast and gluten and breads and stuff like that. Pastas, stuff like that. Which I'm not like much of a pasta eater, but I love bread. So it's still really hard for me to not eat like sandwiches and subs and even like rolls, and I love banana nut bread and just a lot of that. So this is really, it's been like really, really hard for me, but I do have some recommendations like making it easier. What I try to do is, and I've gone a few like weeks and stuff like that. It just depends. Like some week I'm like, I'm vegetarian. Some week I'm like, I'm totally vegan. The next week I'm like, I just have like all this different stuff going on. But I can honestly and truly say that I'm trying. And like I said, I've gone a good while. I think the longest I've gone being completely vegan, and I was on the the alkaline diet. I did that for 2 weeks, and then that was terrible. It was horrible. And then I've been like vegetarian a few times, or tried to be vegetarian a few times. So what I do is I only eat meat like once or twice a day. So that would be for either like lunch and dinner. And in the morning, what I'll try to do is eat like either like a fruit cup, or I'll try to eat like a oatmeal, like an instant oatmeal pack, or whether it be like cereal, just something light. And I only really eat breakfast because I have to take my medicines in the morning, and so you can't take like a lot of those heavy medicines on an empty stomach. So I just do something small. So at this point, I'll say do as I say and not so much as I do, because I'm not perfect and I'm still just trying to get a hold of like, you know, this plant-based and fruit-based diet, the alkaline diet with Dr. Sebi. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with it. So again, on Dr. Sebi's diet or the plant-based diet, you're not supposed to eat processed foods. So I wouldn't advise, if you want to go that route, I wouldn't advise doing oatmeals or cereals, because those are both processed. And also the fruit cups I use, if you're like if you love fruit, or if you're a fresh fruit eater, just do like fresh fruit in the morning. And that'll be easier for you. I'm kind of weird. I do not like fruit at all. I only eat pineapples or watermelon sometimes. And then those fruit cup cocktails, I'll eat those that have like the pears and the pineapple and the little cherries in them. And that's probably only because they're filled with like syrupy sugar. So I'm not supposed to be eating that, but that is what I eat. I'm just trying to do the best I can do. And so again, for like lunch, I'll try to keep it light. What I advise, if you're trying to like cut off like certain meats and stuff like that, I love turkey wraps from Publix. And what I do is, so that I can kind of cut back on the bread, is I either do a spinach tortilla wrap, or also they have a tomato, I can't think of exactly what it's called, but it's like tomato based. And it's like orange or like red. I'm sure you've come across it before, but it is so good. I absolutely love it. I eat those like once or twice a week for lunch. And also I'll try to eat like a mixed bowl. I'll go to Chili's and they have those mixed bowls that have like the rice. It's like rice, salad, beans, and whatever meat you want. Of course, I get chicken normally. Or what I do love are Chipotle's rice bowls. And I've actually gotten to the point where I don't even eat meat in it anymore. I don't recommend their sofrito, which is like their tofu meat. It tastes like old cheese to me. You might like it, you might like tofu meat or sofritos or whatever the case may be, but I just get it rice and lettuce and pico de gallo on there and guac, or however you want to fix it up. But their ingredients are so like seasoned and so flavored that I don't even miss the meat. So whenever I go to Chipotle, I'll just get like a vegetarian rice bowl. And again, like soups and stuff like that. And then what I do is, if I do get soups, I really like chili soups as well. What I'll tell them to do is that I want more broth than the meat in there. And you know, they'll try to accommodate that the best way they can for me. So those are kind of like some recommendations as far as food and stuff like that. And also when it comes to like the pastas, try to do like a gluten-free pasta. And then one thing to remember with the pastas is that try to get something that is name brand. With my experience, when I get something that's like Publix brand or like off brand, it's not the best quality. Like the one time I tried the gluten-free spaghetti noodles, they tore up in part. And also I found that one time when I tried some gluten-free taco shells. So I don't know if gluten is kind of like a property that helps things stick together or like make them more solid as well. But certain things you have to watch when it comes to like gluten-free, because it may not be the best quality. So that's one thing to think about as well. And another thing that's pretty important to me is water. Just try to drink as much water as you can. I always, and I've been doing it for years, when I wake up in the morning, whatever breakfast I'm taking, or whatever the case may be, I drink down water. Or sometimes I like cranberry juice, but I try to stay, I've never liked orange juice. I try to stay away from apple juice and a lot of juices because they have a lot of sugar in them. So that's another thing. And then one thing I just want to say, when people are like, oh, I don't understand how diet plays a big role in, you know, autoimmune diseases or whatever kind of diseases. But the thing is when it comes to food, food holds a lot of bacteria and it holds a lot of foreign ingredients. So when it comes to anything being foreign in the body, in a body that's unhealthy, or that, like, I have an autoimmune disease and it makes my body attack. So when those foreign properties are coming in your body, it makes your body attack more. Compared to fruits and vegetables, fruits and vegetables are just pure natural properties. They don't have all of these other things or ingredients that are put into those foods. So they're better on your body. They don't cause your body to react a certain way and say, hey, what's this in my body? Oh, that's attack. That's what a lot of the different things that we're eating on a daily basis is doing in our body. And even people are like, you know, when you eat a lot of food or indulge in food, and people are like, oh gosh, I'm just so stuffed. I'm so lazy, or you're not lazy, you're not sleepy. Your body is reacting to what you just put in it. So that's the basis of diet and why diet is so important. And it's definitely important when you're trying to prevent certain diseases. So one thing I can say that I really recommend doing is just researching. Whatever diet you think that you want to try out, I wouldn't necessarily just take someone's word, and that's even mine. Like, don't just take my word, because again, like I said, everything works different for everyone. So I would just do the most research that I can possibly do and just see what works best for me. And another thing that is really important, if you do have an autoimmune disease, please research what foods are good for your situation, because there are even certain things that will promote or boost like your immune system that I cannot take. Like, I cannot take what is it? Not Theraflu. Oh gosh, what is it? Is it like the emergency thing, like Theraflu, like those immune boosting like remedies that people take to prevent like flu and cold and stuff like that? I cannot take that stuff. That's actually one way I actually ended up in the hospital, is because I had no idea that these things were like immune boosters, and I thought that I had the flu, or I thought that I was like sick, and I was taking one of those. I don't know what it was, it Theraflu or whatever it may have been, but it got me like really extremely sick to the point where I had to be hospitalized. So just research like certain things. And then also, I know there are certain sprouts that are extreme immune boosters, and I have to stay away from that as well, because those things make my body like attack at a more hyperactive rate. So research if you have like some kind of disease or some kind of condition, because there are certain foods that are going to be good for you, and there are certain things that can trigger other, your symptoms or whatever the case may be. And also, two main things that I forgot to mention that are highly like inflammatory are dairy. Dairy is not good for you, because dairy is pretty much like old bacteria. That's pretty much what dairy is. So like sour creams, cottage cheeses, like all of that stuff. Milk. I've never liked milk, but I would at least, of course, like use milk in like certain ingredients. And then I will just cover milk a little bit just to cover like my cereal. But what I do use now is almond milk. And I like almond milk. I mean, it doesn't taste like anything to me. And then, like I said, I've never been a milk drinker, so I'm not like chugging it down anyways. It doesn't bother me. So no dairy. I try not to eat dairy in anything, and that was hard for me because I love cheese. I love cheese. But how I started off with that is, so like wraps, sandwiches, stuff like that, where you would personally put cheese on, I don't do that anymore. As far as cheese being in certain foods like macaroni and cheese, or I don't know, like lasagna or like stuff like that, I'll try to use a alternative. I haven't found any alternative to use like on lasagna or like chicken parmesan or like stuff like that that I like. So I just try to just do like a sprinkle or like the less amount that I can. But if I go out to a restaurant, I'll order whatever the food may be without cheese or whatever, you know. Just make small steps. You don't have to like be miserable about eating. It shouldn't be a miserable experience to eat. So just do small steps. And at some point in time, like I said, you're not going to crave it anymore. You're not going to desire it anymore. So it'll become easier for you. Also, and I had to find this out. There are certain things that you're going to find out and you're like, I never even thought of it that way. But eggs, they don't recommend eggs. Dr. Sebi on his alkaline diet actually thinks that eggs are a really high inflammatory food. And that's because mucus along with bacteria is not good for the body, and that's all eggs are, is pretty much mucus. If you're just not learning that, then I'm sorry to ruin your day. So I try to stay away from eggs as much as possible, and another way to kind of do that is try to go for like egg whites. And not that the egg whites are any better, but it's at least not like the yolk part. Like it's not like the actual, you know, yolk. So the egg white is kind of a better choice. And then sometimes that's another good thing to think or know of as far as a healthier breakfast. And again, at this point, I'm saying do as I say, not as I do, because I still eat eggs sometimes. And I also will do a egg scramble. So sometimes I'll do like lunch meat, the turkey meat, and cut up like some onions and bell peppers and just scramble it all together in my eggs. And that's a really good breakfast, like a lighter breakfast choice instead of doing something heavier for breakfast. So keep that in mind when you're thinking of like different food items to try or whatever the case may be. So hopefully this advice and tip video kind of helps you all and at least like give you all something to look for as far as looking for natural remedies or diet remedies or whatever the case may be. If you're having like certain symptoms, just try it out. At the end of the day, when I was thinking about incorporating diets and just having or trying these different remedies, at the end of the day, I just asked myself, I mean, what do I have to lose? Like, just try it out and just see if it's gonna be helpful. And, you know, I don't wanna annoy people who don't have issues in this area. If you're healthy and you feel fine with whatever you're eating, then do that. I'm just not in the same situation. Like, we're not in the same circumstances. You know, a lot of people out here can go and they can eat the biggest, grandest hamburger and feel fine, or they have no like health issues, and that's great. You know, I can't relate, but if that works for you, then that's fine. I'm strictly talking to those people who know for a fact that they have this disease or that disease and they're frustrated. You know, medications are expensive if you don't have certain insurances and stuff like that. Going to the doctor back and forth is expensive. If you're not feeling well on a daily basis, a lot of people have lost the ability to work. Or so this is like a life or death situation for a lot of people. So at the end of the day, that person is going to find, they're going to try anything that's gonna help. I mean, y'all, if someone were to tell me that trying horse urine will treat lupus, I will be eating or drinking horse urine every day. Like, it's that serious for someone who has these issues. So again, you know, don't get annoyed. I'm not talking to those who are fine and they feel like their diet is perfect, and that's great. You know, that's great for you all. But, you know, there are some out here who I really want to help, and I want to advise you guys to just try these things, because these are things that have really, really, really worked for me. So thank you. I appreciate you all just taking the time to listen to my video and check me out. And like I always say, if you want me to touch on different things or you have questions about different things, feel free to let me know or to message me, and we'll talk about some things. So thank you. See you the next time.